Hey there, AfterBuzzers. You're watching the AfterBuzz TV After Show for Black Sails Season 4, Episode 5 and Episode 6. Stay tuned as I give you my thoughts and predictions.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh yeah, that pirate music. Oh, how we love it so much. And you guys, as we are gearing, getting closer and closer to the end of this whole series, every time I hear this, it's just like I get a little bit sad at the same time too. But don't worry, we're only halfway through this season, and so we're gonna crank out episodes 5 and episode 6 tonight. That's season 4, of course, and episodes XXXIII, or otherwise known as 33, and episode XXXIV 34. I am your host, Lauren Salaun, and it is me solo tonight. We may have someone run in here and join us, but if not, you guys, I am steering this ship. Get it? Ship? Pirate jokes? You guys can find me everywhere online at Lauren Salaun. That's LaurenSalaun. And I am super pumped to talk about these two episodes, and we're covering two. So episode 5, episode 6, the most recent one. So forgive me if we get a little ahead of ourselves or mishmash the episodes and stuff, because it's way too exciting to just, sometimes keep everything in order and timely. But we now are up to date, because if you've been paying attention, we have been catching up the last couple weeks. So now we are up to date. Let's dive in. Episode 5, you guys. So as we came off of last week, Eleanor has made this deal with Flint, which Silver is not really into, but basically Flint is gonna, trust Eleanor. And see you guys in the chat, Cartier Walker. Yes, episode 6 was freaking nuts. I was losing my business over it, and man, oh man, we will get to it. And you guys, if you're watching live right now, let's talk, because it's me and all y'all. So let's have a discussion through this episode, shall we? But yeah, let's get to episode 6. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Okay, but sticking with 5, because that's where we're at. So Flint has given himself over to Eleanor against Silver's recommendations, and basically saying, like, they've got this deal going on, and he is willing to pretty much, end it all through giving them the gold and them getting control of Nassau. So it's a pretty big situation. Oh, Trey, anyone else notice that episode 6, aka 34, is how many chapters are in the book of Treasure Island? I did not. Oh my gosh, you guys, let's hold on. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Okay, so we will get through episode 5 nice and quick, so we can talk about all the juicy stuff that happened in episode 6, because goodness gracious. So Eleanor has sent her chambermaid, whose name I am forgetting off the top of my head right now, to basically speak to Woods and tell Woods about her plan, and Eleanor has full confidence that he's going to go along with her plan with Flint. And the chambermaid suggests that Eleanor says she's pregnant, to convince him or let that out just in case there's any hesitation on his part. And Eleanor says no. And later we see in that scene when she's talking to Woods, she doesn't even bring it up. And I felt like she was so close to mentioning that to him, because he obviously isn't agreeing with that. He's not seeing the logic in it, and he frankly doesn't really believe Eleanor's intentions, which is kind of sad to see, and ultimately incredibly sad to see given what happens in episode 6, but we're not gonna get too far. So they're having this discussion. She does not say anything about Eleanor being pregnant, and he ignores it, and he says several times, which he said before, that he will do anything to protect his wife, and at times he says that very menacingly, in the sense that, he will even go against what she's requesting, do something that's going to totally piss her off, do something that potentially leads to worse things, if he thinks that it's for the greater good and for her safety. And so that, obviously we know that's going to be a big issue based on what's going on with Eleanor and the pirates and what that situation is, and now the Spanish coming into play. So he's basically turning on Eleanor in this decision and seemingly not trusting her intentions, that her intentions are for him. He really thinks that she's motivated by causing disorder to go, and go like back to the old ways, essentially. And so he heads to Cuba to talk to the Spanish. And in that meeting, so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, keep things kind of topical for us. So in that meeting with the Spaniards in Cuba, they're not exactly on the same side here. And he says they're at war and he wants no part in it, and that he's there to talk about the pirates, which is his current war and situation that he's dealing with. He full on even drops Teach's head to prove his point, which again, hit me right in the heart. I miss Blackbeard. I miss him bad. And he's trying to, persuade them to side with him to help fend off the pirates because, and here's the clincher, the stolen gems that are in play in this deal are theirs. So this whole time he's talking to this general and he's like, okay, why do I freaking care? We're not even on the same side, excuse me. And when that comes into play, oh, all that gold and those gems that were stolen, that's what they're using as leverage. So that gets their attention for sure. And an interesting, before I jump to this, and he pretty much, Wood says, he is fueled with such vengeance and such, wanting to take out the pirates completely that he full on says he just wants to burn it all to the ground, which that later we see, fire happening, all that stuff, and burn it all to the ground, gets put into a much bigger metaphorical or symbolic way when things in episode 6 start to happen. So an interesting fact about this situation and meeting with the Spaniards is those Spanish actors that he meets with taught Luke Roberts Spanish. That Spanish that he was speaking, they taught it to him. So that's kind of fun. And it only over a 3-week span of time. I mean, it's not like he became fluent or anything, but enough to be able to nail those lines and everything. So I thought that was a fun little fact that we heard. So now I'm just keeping up with the chat, you guys, and my notes, everything. So if I jump around, please forgive me. So back to our pirate faction, Silver goes and meets up with Billy and tells him the plan. And as we know, they are looking to essentially frame Billy for what happened earlier in the season. So, all that baloney that happened in episode 1, they're wanting to frame Billy for it and say oh, hey, remember when that all went to shit? It was because Billy didn't relay the message, and he did that on purpose. And so Billy completely disagrees with the plan that Flint is going through with and that Silver is now on board with, because he kind of has to, and suggests that they break apart from Flint. He's constantly putting it into Silver's mind that the future with Flint is not good. And we've seen so many times that people that align themselves with Flint either get crossed by him or they die as a result of his actions, because so much of the time Flint is out for the greater good and is willing to let people be sacrificed, kill them himself, whatever, may be. And that greater good sometimes is Flint's greater good, So I don't disagree with the things that Billy was saying to Silver. I think I love Flint and I have so much sensitivity and empathy for him given his past and what we know about him, and that we know a lot about him, but he tends to be a selfish character. I think in episode 6 with some of the stuff that happens, we see a lot of vulnerability and sympathy from him, which I really like to see. I'll get to that more, but I don't think Billy's advice is completely far off. I do think he is being a little short-sighted, and now is definitely the time for the pirates to band together, obviously, rather than splinter even more. So, it's a risky situation. And Silver talks to Maddie about the plan as well, and she thinks that they made the right decision. And she says something that, really catches his attention and caught mine as well, that the only way to repair the damage is to remove what caused it, suggesting to remove, aka kill, Billy, and or one of them, Billy or Flint, but she's very much suggesting Billy. And Silver says she sounds like Flint, and that is, you know, makes you wonder, okay, then what does that mean exactly? Is Maddie going to, you know, kind of put other people's lives at risk for the sake of the greater good? Is her aligning herself more with Flint going to put her at risk by him or by others? We don't really know, but that's kind of a shift in her character. Maybe not necessarily a shift, but that's a new kind of side that we're seeing for sure. I'm going to check into your guys' comments here in the chat. Flint really need help. Yeah, Flint, he does need some help. Rackham, favorite character. I love Rackham, and he has some good moments in episode 6. We'll get to them. Trey says, I love Silver's decision based on the one who made him choose. Oh, but I was on Billy's side over Flint, but yes, they need to be together as pirates. Yes, okay, that moment, which, you know, we'll do that in episode 6, but that was a really great moment between Silver and Billy when Billy's on the floor. So then we go to kind of our time with Eleanor and Flint. And they've created this bond. You know, they're very civil. They seem to be working together in this plan. And she is asking a lot about helping the slaves and getting insight there. And we see some really sensitive moments from Eleanor in these last 2 episodes that we had. And I really liked seeing that because she tends to not be my favorite character. So I like seeing the less impulsive sides of her and the more caring sides of her. And she, later in their conversation, Eleanor and Flint's conversation, she gets a little pissed at him because he points out, hey, is Woods any different than all these men that you're bitching about, essentially? Because she's complaining about how all the men have messed everything up and all this stuff, and and he points out, hey, is Woods, is there any different? And to her, he has been. And as far as she knows in this situation, he still is different, which we as the viewers, based on his discussion with her chambermaid and his meeting with the Spanish, we know that that's not true, that he is betraying her even though he thinks it's in her best interest as well as everyone else's. So, you know, that's a bitter moment, of course. We then so we've got a few kind of key things to hit on before we jump to episode 6. And toward the end, back to our Billy situation, you know, and that whole thing that Maddie said about the fact that he needs to go, essentially, is, you know, they have this kind of face-off with Billy. You know, Silver pretty much serves him up on a platter to get taken out, and they have assigned one of the pirates to kill him, and the guy that's chosen, he pretty much says that he can't, and then he stands up to the rest of the pirates who are kind of waiting around that open field, which was like that was such a chilling scene, because I think Billy's being a little impulsive for sure. I mean, maybe not impulsive, but I wish he would see the value in uniting with them, with the rest of the pirates, because again, them being splintered is not going to help them. It's going to just get them all killed rather than do anything beneficial. And, you know, and I love his character so much that I want him to, like, you know, to slap him out of it and figure this shit out and just jump in with everybody. But they send him into this open field, and all the pirates are watching and basically send one of their own to kill him. And it is rough, but I did like that pirate kind of said no, you know, because we've seen Silver be so influential, and pretty much anything he says goes. And I think later in the episode, or when he's talking to Flint, or maybe it's when he's talking to Billy, he says something like, I could tell them the sky is red, or it was something to that effect, and they would believe me, you know. And that's true. And so, and not that I want to see Silver not be a powerful force or not be listened to, but I want, you know, you always still want people to think for themselves and make their own decisions. So I did kind of like that moment that this pirate kind of stood up for Billy, but of course it wasn't, you know, it was for nothing. I mean, it's symbolic because Mr. Hands comes out and he's just like, ah, shit, I have to deal with this now, and takes that guy out and is a second away from stabbing freaking Billy, and Silver says no. And so I loved that too, because later we see in episode 6 that Silver basically says that Billy is his closest friend right now, and even if they don't agree at all on what's happening. And that was, yeah, that was sad and very powerful and hopeful too for me to see, you know, Silver step in and hoping like, okay, well, is he saving or really showing mercy to Billy in this way? Is that going to save his life ultimately? You know, but also we don't really know what shape Billy's in. He got pretty beat up in that altercation, and so, you know, there's uncertainty here. And we saw that last week with Anne, you know, uncertainty over whether or not she's going to survive too. And so we've got all of our people kind of, whether they're sacrificing themselves for the greater good or they're in this situation like Billy is, you know, we've got a lot of people who are hanging on like barely by a thread. And okay, you guys in the chat, when Israel Hands slaps Silver, oh my gosh, I love it. I loved that moment. Yeah, so I think he's so right, you know. I think that Hands has shown that he is there and totally willing and capable of being Silver's like right-hand man, or his strength and muscle, whatever that is, and being totally, you know, giving his full allegiance to Silver. But I love that Silver's having kind of a whiny moment, indecisive, as you should. You know, you want to weigh these things when you're going to kill like one of your best friends. You want to like have a little struggle over it. But I love how Hands is so like logical and to the point and business. And he's like, you know, slaps him a ton and tells him to choose. Like, hey, you're a leader. Worry isn't a good look for a king. And I'll be here, but I don't care about all the thinking and the shit that goes on with it. So make your decisions and act like a king. Woo! So that was pretty, that was a comical moment when he's slapping him around, but you know, I think some powerful stuff. And that guy doesn't speak too much. And I think the things that we've seen him do, and he's a very new character, obviously, just in these last few episodes, I'm liking what we see from Hands. He's really ruthless, and he is an old school pirate. OG, man. All right, so we are getting to the end, kind of the last little scene here going on, and they get to the beach. You know, Flint, Eleanor, they're gonna meet up and get the treasure, and Rackham's there, and none of the cash is there. And Flint and Eleanor are kind of like, WTF is going on? This is not part of the plan. And Flint has some words with Rackham. Is like, yo, bro, he already agreed to it, he being Woods, so what's the deal? We need this to go smoothly, because like this is the plan, this is what's going on. And Rackham's like, hi, yeah, no. I was on the ship when I watched him defeat Blackbeard, and the vengeance and the like bloodlust that I saw in his eyes, he wants revenge. There is no way he will ever surrender. And that is a really hard moment to see, because we know that Eleanor is going to be heartbroken, and we know that we're in store for a big bloody battle. And we also extra know that because we see all those Spanish ships heading over from Cuba, and it is a menacing sight. So I'm just reading your guys' chats. His enforcer, yes, I agree, Trey, but Silver rose to his foot. Cartier, I think Woods is going to get with the pirates to kill the Spanish. Agree. Yeah, so this is kind of wraps up episode 5. Things fell apart. You know, this plan that Flint and Eleanor kind of devised to settle things, you know, because they didn't want to keep fighting and having this huge battle. You know, things fell apart, and they fell apart not because of the pirates, which is kind of what we assumed. Based on last week, you know, we saw things splintering, and I think we assumed that shit would hit the fan because the pirates were unsteady, but it hit the fan because Woods didn't listen to Eleanor. And a huge part of that is because she wouldn't tell him she was pregnant. And I am sure if he had known that, and if the chambermaid had revealed that, and she was so close to saying something. I swear she was so close. If she had said that, he probably would have changed course. So yeah. So anyway, that wraps up season 5, which was or episode 5, excuse me, which was a hugely characterized by, a lot of reflection from our characters and a lot of dialogue, which is a nice balance because episode 6 is full of intensity, full of blood, full of fighting. Oh my goodness, so freaking amazing. Okay, so you guys, let's talk about episode 6 now because OMG. So, episode 6 was nuts, you guys. Silver has Billy in, captured, tied up, and he seeks help with our, pirate lady, guys, names, I'm sorry, pirate lady to broker peace with the slaves, and he requires that Billy be kept alive. And I like that because his heart is still there and he's still loyal to his men, We see Silver being very, not necessarily, I wouldn't call him manipulative, even though that's very much what it is because you know his intentions and you know his heart. And so I don't see it as manipulating people, but I like seeing that he still cares about his people in a very real way. And he's talking to Billy, and Billy is really rough, in a really rough space. And he tells him that there's a chance to undo this, to like make things right again. And that he, needs to never make them choose, that he made Silver choose between him and Flint, and that that's not okay. And Billy says, oh no, but you chose, so you have to live with it, which is heartbreaking. Because we see, like I already said, we see Silver say that Billy is basically his best friend. Like, yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at you guys in the chat here. Yeah, the boats coming to the island. Woo! I know, nice shot, Michael Bay. I agree that the production value, you guys, of this entire show is amazing, amazing. They put so much money and effort and detail and attention into everything. It's incredible. So next up, we've got Maddie and Eleanor having a few moments with each other, and I really liked the scenes with them together, aside from like the very last one. Excuse me while I take a sip of water. I really liked those scenes with them together because in the first one, Maddie and Eleanor are talking about their past, because they've known each other for a long time as young girls, because Mr. Scott essentially helped to raise Eleanor, and he left his own family to be with Eleanor's family. And so they are, in a sense, sisters in a way. I mean, that's a stretch, of course, but they have this very unique bond because of that. And so they talk about their past, and Maddie's really explaining like her perspective, and I had like glimmers of like girl power, bond, alliance forming, and I didn't know like, okay, are they gonna team up and like have another kind of group thrown into the mix, or another alliance, or change the plans that way? Or I had really high hopes based on this initial conversation, especially for what we were going to see with Maddie and Eleanor moving forward. I was really excited about that. But I also then, as you're thinking that, you're like, oh, well, is there a glimmer of like a downfall? And I don't mean in the sense of what we saw in episode 6, that kind of downfall, but like, are they going to start plotting together and it all go wrong and then a bunch of crap happen? It happened a lot more quickly than I thought it would happen. Trey, I think Michael Bay threw money as long as they gave him ship battles and explosions here and there. Yeah, you're probably very correct. I don't know. I don't think Bay has too much of a hands-on role in this situation, or in this show, but it is a lot of, definitely a lot of Michael Bay money for those big explosions and stuff like that. Because that's how Bay does things, and that's like part of the fun of watching a Michael Bay production, and we get that stuff hardcore in this show. All right, so Maddie and Eleanor And then, of course, later we see them having another discussion together, and we'll get to those details later because it's really dramatic. But, you know, the British are there. They're trying to get out so they don't come under fire. They've got orders not to fight back, like all this stuff going on. Beeler, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but you said, I refuse to believe that Maddie died. I think I agree with you. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so Rackham is still at the beach, and Max shows up, and Max is pretty much like, F all this, you know, and we've seen throughout this season so far that Max is very much wanting to just like end the violence, which is what Eleanor was trying to do too. End all the fighting, end the chaos. Let's actually create some sense of civilization here. And Max is just like, okay, what the hell is going on? Let's figure this shit out. And she, you know, talking with Rackham, and later we see her, you know, she's on the ship with them, and she goes and talks to Anne. And we, again, don't really know what state Anne is in because we didn't see her the whole last episode, you know? We have no idea freaking what's going on. And she is confessing her love to her, saying she loved Anne, but she betrayed her. And Anne pretty much says, I mean, not pretty much, she says, get the F out. And that, like, heart to Max's, or sword to Max's heart. What is this? What's happening? So that was really powerful, but also really good because Anne's alive. I mean, she is super rough. We don't know how alive she is, but she's hanging on. And I mean, Anne's a freaking fighter. There's no way in the show, at least, she's going out from this situation. All right. So we have a moment with Flint and Eleanor as well, and you know, we've got the invasion starting to happen and everything, and Flint says, hey girl, Woods did this, like this is because of him, like you have to see this, you know. And she cannot believe that that's possible. And I know we've had discussions, the panel here, of whether or not Eleanor really truly loved him, whether he loved her, and I think there's always been some idea that Eleanor maybe was up to something with their relationship, and that Woods was the one who was totally devoted to her. But as we see in this episode, he's the one that decides to go against what she requested. And not that he did it because he doesn't love her, because I really believe that he did what he did because of how much he loves her and because he thought it would secure a better future for them and for everybody. But as we know, it really, really backfired. So the Cubans, or I guess they're Spaniards from Cuba, they come in with horses. And you guys, how was that scene when Silver and all the men are standing there and he's like, quiet, what's that noise? And oh my gosh, the sound and like these horses running through, ooh, intense. And B, I love this. B says, no body, no death. I agree, girlfriend. I got a whole theory, but it's longer than 200 characters, saying that Eleanor was going to ask her grandfather for help, but Rogers didn't want to, and they thought that her grandfather wasn't going to help them. Exactly. And I love that the grandfather gets pulled back into the situation completely in a separate way. I freaking love it. How about that for, like, you know, sweet, sweet irony, you guys. Okay, so our big moment here, you guys, in episode 6, and probably one of the biggest for the entire season and series, really, is that, you know, Maddie and Eleanor are talking, and they're, you know, having another one of those moments that I think are really sweet, and they're trying to see eye to eye, not trying to see eye to eye, trying to really, I think, you know, they're reflecting on their past and their history together, and both genuinely wanting to figure out a solution. And she, you know, they're in there, and Eleanor goes to the window, and you guys, like, seeing that guy in the background, the Spaniard in the background, I'm like, okay, that must be someone there to protect them because he's so right there. How did they not see this? What is happening? And you know, soon enough, starts to attack them. Maddie is on the ground. Eleanor gets attacked like hardcore. And for a moment there, I thought he was attempting to rape her, which was going to be really traumatic, and trying to strangle her. She gets stabbed in the stomach. And she, like I think Cartier said it, was, she pulls out a sword and starts wielding a sword herself, which is something that she as a character has been wanting to do the entire series, you know? And so it was really cool to see that. And somebody in the chat already said that, something that the producers wanted to do is, and I watched this as well, you guys probably did too, in the like behind the scenes Starz stuff. So producer and creator Jonathan Steinberg and then producer Dan Schatz, they have said basically that this has always been, you know, leading in that direction, and she's always wanted to, you know, hold a sword and kill a bad guy and stuff, but that it couldn't really, that might have to be the way out as well. And so, you know, she's fighting with this guy. She's putting up a hell of a good fight. She gets stabbed or sliced in the stomach. And at first you're like, oh shoot, the baby. But then you see the amount of blood that she's losing from that wound. And it's like, oh shit, Eleanor. And she is quick on her toes. That woman, you know, throws alcohol, I believe, or oil in the guy's face. His eyes are burning. She gets a log from the fire, catches him on fire. Everything else starts to burn, and Maddie is there on the ground. She tries to get Maddie to wake up and to come. We don't know the extent of Maddie's injuries. Her head is very beaten up and bloodied, so we don't know if she just got knocked out or if she's dead completely. And she, you know, she's there on the ground, and we're not really sure what's gonna happen with Eleanor. And you guys, I have been saying probably since season 1 that I could be fine with Eleanor dying. I had a hard time watching this scene. They did such a great job. I mean, the actresses did an excellent job in this scene. I mean, namely Hannah in this you know, namely in this scene, because she's so badass and she's fighting hard, but it's also so emotional. And you know, she's fighting this big soldier. So you kind of know that there's probably not going to be a way out for her unless somebody comes in and intervenes, because she is a petite, pregnant woman, and we already know that she is a little fragile, and her strength and her energy is not quite there because she's pregnant. And so, yeah, so it was heartbreaking at the same time to watch. And it hit me a lot harder than I thought that it would. And then later, you know, she is out on the ground. Flint finds her, and so she made it out. And I still thought that there maybe was some hope for Eleanor, but she is super rough, and she's talking to Flint, and he's clearly upset by this. And she asks him, you know, was my husband with them? And he says no, you know, because he wants her to be able to die believing that he did what she wanted him to do, and that, and maybe not what she wanted him to do, but that he didn't do this and that he didn't cause this. And I think that was a really powerful moment to have Flint there, and especially to have Flint be the one that is there when she dies, because they have had a pretty contentious and up and down relationship over the past few years. And I think at the same time, they very much respect and love each other, even though they've been at odds so much of the time. And so, yeah, I thought that was a really powerful scene. And you can tell that Flint is clearly upset by it. And Eleanor says, you know, I couldn't save Maddie. And then she dies. Did you guys think that we were going to see this soon? I didn't. I thought it might, like, yeah, hold out a little bit until like the end of the season or something, but sad. And Flint, after this, goes back to meet up with the pirates and sees Silver and tells him that, you know, doesn't even say it. It's just in the way that he looks at Silver when Silver asks where Maddie is. And Flint is clearly upset by this as well. Silver is upset. And this could be a major defining moment for Silver as a character, because he's still got that, not softness to him. I think we've really seen a huge transformation over this past season, but he was in love with her, is in love with her. And so this could be just that, you know, that big turning point for him if she is in fact dead. And even if she's not dead, you know, if she is missing for a long time or recovering somewhere for a long time and he doesn't know that she's alive, like that's going to be very, you know, going to direct his actions as well. So now, B, I'm going to jump back into your comments too. Let's see. Oh, maybe not. We're not talking. Oh gosh, you guys. There's so much discussion happening. So next we see Woods finding Eleanor and he breaks down hard. And I would have liked to see more of that scene kind of close up to see the pain and really his suffering over what he caused, you know, and they chose to shoot it pretty far back. And I don't know if that is, you know, symbolically shooting Flint and Eleanor more closely is telling, because, you know, Woods is the one who caused her death and he's only been a part of her life for a short period of time. So who knows if that kind of closeness on them kind of signifies that relationship as almost being stronger, you know, and maybe Flint seeing Eleanor as more of an equal counterpart in a sense, whereas Woods, you know, that being shot more distantly doesn't necessarily mean he didn't love her, she didn't love him, but you know, that wasn't as strong of a bond as we all thought it was, or as he thought it was, and obviously as she thought it was, and now she's dead because of it. And back to what the producer said, you know, that she was going to get her moment to fight a bad guy, and but at the same time that it wasn't going to be something that she would live through. And yeah, and so that was really powerful and really sad. Like, what did you guys think? Somebody said, "Rest in hell, Eleanor." And I know, B, when you saw that Spanish soldier in the corner, oh my gosh, I was like, who is that man? What's happening? Oh, that was intense. When you saw the fly on Eleanor's lip, you knew she was gone. Yeah. Ragander Dio. Sorry if I'm saying these names wrong. Eleanor got killed by an unarmed soldier that takes some balls. Yeah, but she put up a hell of a good fight. And that guy had a lot of size on her, too. So freaking go, Eleanor. I think he was, but then he wanted to kill her because she was dying anyway. Trey, I don't know which moved on the ground earlier. Yes, I cringed seeing Silver so helpless in the middle. Yeah. Maddie is gone. Who's going to save her? Trey. But it was the Spanish, a price to pay for Woods fighting anarchy with anarchy. Yes, exactly. And that is one of the things, too, that is so bitter about this, is that it was some stranger that killed her. She's had so many fights with other pirates and so many people who've truly wanted to kill her, that it adds to the whole chaos of this season and the whole chaos that she, Max, others are trying to avoid and trying to put an end to, because some random stranger, some guy who doesn't even know really who the hell she is, killed her. Like, that's like some Shakespearean ironic shit, huh? Yeah, so intense. Just looking at your guys' comments. Let me see. Woods using dirty pirate tactics against the pirates. If Billy finds Maddie, that will be a blessing and a curse. Oh my gosh, you're right. I know, this is super intense. Accurate based on vicious methods that the Empire's turned to. Exactly. Of course, B, if Maddie is alive and if Billy finds her, he's going to use Maddie against Silver, and then you're going to have to fight somebody. But Billy is in such rough shape, I don't know how is he going to escape, too? Unless somebody kind of starts helping him out. And I don't know that there's somebody who's willing to do that. So Billy isn't supposed to be a likable character, but the actor who plays Billy is likable, so you like him. Yes, I think Billy's been likable up until kind of this season. I feel like he's been kind of a pain in the butt for the most part. So let's gonna move on past Eleanor's death. So you guys, like, as much as I've wanted to see Eleanor die because she's been annoying, I was pretty sad. And yeah, and you know, the actors say and the producers say, like, anytime you kill off a character, it's like you think really hard about it. And I think the way that they did it was really powerful, from, you know, symbolically for the show, for the character, everything. Okay, so let's talk about our Rackham situation, our slave situation. So we have a new character introduced into this episode, Julius, who is heading up our slaves. And, you know, there's been some question in the past about whether or not the slaves are going to really unite with the pirates, because after all, this is not their fight. They are doing this to get freedom for them and for the greater good for all of the slaves and the Maroons all over the place. So whoever is able to make that happen, whether it's them fighting on their own or siding with the pirates, like that's the goal that they want. And so we meet Julius, and, you know, there still isn't, you know, with this new character introduction, I'm wondering like how influential he's going to be, how big of a role we're going to see from him, because it's interesting to add you know, we've got about 5 episodes left. It's interesting to add a brand new, pretty big character into the mix, though we've already seen some big characters come and go in this season already. Okay, so with Rackham on the ship, Max is with them. They're getting ready to set sail. And you guys, this moment with Rackham and Max, he gets pissed at her, because she's coming in and being all like, oh, I tried to prevent this. I'm trying to do the right thing kind of idea. And you guys are blah, 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 blah. And he is like, I'm sorry, but you're the one who caused this big shitstorm, you know, or had a very big hand in it. And I loved him getting so pissed. That was such a good scene, seeing that, and such great acting. But then similarly, I loved her standing up to him too, you know, and she calls him out and pretty much says, hey, you think you can defeat Woods without me? You're stupid. You know what? Because he's still pretty much, I'm still have my foot on that side of the fence, and I can make this happen, and I can figure out what's going on here, and I can devise a plan. And she really, you know, she brings up that Eleanor's dead, Anne's almost dead, and she wants Woods to pay for it. And so the plan is, and I love this, you guys, is when Flint heads south, they're going to head north to Grandpa Guthrie. And pretty much, what is Max going to just like tell him, here's everything that went down. Let's head down there and like burn up the British because they killed Eleanor. Like, I'm so curious to see how this is going to play out. All right, so kind of concluding here, you guys, in our final scenes, you know, we've got Flint and Silver having a moment together. Silver is so upset. Oh my gosh, and my heart is breaking for him. And Flint goes to, I loved this scene, and you know, we've seen that relationship change so much that you don't really know what Silver's gonna do here, because Flint going all, not rogue, but Flint just making an executive decision essentially last episode to jump in with Eleanor, even though Eleanor was doing the right thing and Woods was the variable there, it still caused what we believe to be Maddie's death. And Silver is heartbroken. And I love, again, seeing more of these kind of gentler and heartfelt moments and indications that Silver really does care about his people, and has the capacity for forgiveness, and he's a good guy, you guys. And he tells Flint several times that it wasn't his fault. And Flint looks very much shaken up, which I like, because we've seen him so many times be so ruthless. And I love that we saw him really hurt by Eleanor's death, and now seeing the pain that he's caused Flint, because he really respected Maddie too. I like seeing that from Flint, and I really like that Silver forgives him basically in that moment. And you know, we've got the little shoulder tap before he leaves, and all of that. And we kind of conclude with the slaves all coming together. So many of them, you guys, and The woman we see there at the end, you know, she says that that the revolution that they promised is here, that they've got Maroons coming from all over, people who've heard about the revolution and what is going on, people coming from everywhere to do this. So I am so excited to see how this all plays out and the fights that are going to come out of it, the epic battle. It is awesome. You guys, I'm going to jump back into our chat here and kind of catch up with you. So let me see. B, in that instance, I didn't really think it was Flint's fault because earlier in the episode, that one guy was like, hey, I can go find Maddie and Flint and bring them back here and we can leave. And Silver basically was like, nah, it's cool. They'll be fine. We're not leaving. And then what happens? Maddie ends up dead. So you guys, do we think Maddie's dead? I don't. Like you guys were saying in the chat, no body, no death. Until we see a dead ass body like Eleanor's gray dead body, they're dead. You know, that was not conclusive enough for me. Patrick in the chat, time for Silver to turn into an even darker corner. I agree. Trey, and Flint didn't make sure the remaining Brits made sure the Spanish were dead. Stupid, simple chore forgotten. I know, because we saw a few instances where some guys, or it was one guy, his hand kind of is quivering there and twitching, and not in like a I'm dying kind of way, in like a JK, I'm still alive kind of way. So in one of those last scenes when everything, like the smoke is settling and they're all walking around all the bodies, like I was like, oh gosh, they just left the guns on them, all the swords are down there, like somebody is gonna just shoot one of our guys like from the ground. Okay, yeah, so I agree with that. Not, come on, like you guys, when you think someone's dead, shoot him in the head like an extra time just to be sure. Stab him through the heart. I don't know. That's what I would do if I was in a battle or something where I needed to make sure the other person was dead. You really make sure. Not just be like, oh, they're stabbed, they're dead. Nope, stab him in the dead maker. Is that a sentence? Anyway, yeah, I agree, Trey. Okay, back in season 1, originally thought Flint and Eleanor would end up together. Oh, but then we found out that, you know, Flint is not super into that. Julius pissed me off when he showed up late to the fight. Yeah, so did I, but plots change. Exactly. Both of their faults. Okay, let me see. Max blew me away when she showed up in Anne's room and was like, I loved you, right? Bay, I agree, but interesting how Pirate wants order and the governor wants destruction. Yes, but it's so ironic because he thinks that Eleanor wants destruction too. You know, he doesn't believe her motives, which what her chambermaid was telling him were the true motives. Ah, so painful. I can't wait for the scene when he finds out that she was pregnant, because we know that's coming and we know how devastated he's going to be. Okay, I'm getting through your comments in the chat because we are going to wrap up here in just a second. Why Jack didn't tell Flint about Max's plan. True. Poor Silver wanted to give him a hug. Yes, I did. Do you think Silver really forgives him, or is the master of manipulation back? I think Silver, I want to believe Silver believes him and forgives him. I do. Anyway, B, I think it's because Jack was angry that they were going to give away his share of the cash. Where is Billy Bones now? Silver's really good with words, so he'll say things that people want to hear in order to serve his own gain. So maybe he wants Flint to believe he forgives him. Right, but I feel like this would shake, I mean, I'm not going to put it past Silver to still be thinking strategically in such a moment of pain, but who knows? Okay, so next, somebody says, rest in peace, Max. Fire leaves no, yes, but no body. Fire leaves no trace. I mean, you still might have a skeleton or something. I don't know. I'm not saying that Maddie is dead just yet, you guys. That's what I feel like. Yeah, B, good idea. Think they're doing with Billy in season 1, you know, now with Maddie, faking her death essentially. House didn't burn all the way to the ground. Correct. Okay, it's a sentence now. Thank you so much. And our kind of final comment right here in the chat, MJ, really wonder what Woods is going to do. In the end, he failed to keep his wife safe. I know. And also someone needs to tell him that Eleanor is pregnant. He feels even worse. I hate him. Yeah, you guys, we're going to see that for sure. We're going to see that scene. And He's going to feel like a dick, right? Like an extra dick. Oh my gosh, that is so bad. Someone please soundbite that because that was a good one to keep. All right. Woo, this episode, you guys, I've been talking for an hour straight. I probably am losing my voice, but guys, this episode was a doozy, right? So much battle, so many things changing, so much intensity, and we are gearing up next week for a freaking crazy episode 7. So some predictions, you guys, and I want you all in the chat, give me some of your predictions. I know a few of you have already commented. Oh my gosh, see my words. I'm losing the ability to speak, you guys. Speak. See? Wow. You guys, I know some of you have already said in the chat a few of your predictions, but let's kind of rehash a few of them and summarize them before we get off here. So next week in the teaser, we see them basically, I mean, it's pretty quick stuff. See them sending men up the coast to seize the town in a day. And basically, like, summing up the stuff we see about next week, epic showdown, okay? We are in for more battles, and it's going to be gnarly. Okay, biggest predictions I see. I think, obviously, Chambermaid is going to tell Woods that Eleanor was pregnant, and probably next week or as soon as they're back next together, she's going to spill those beans, I think. Unless she decides to kind of, that she's so heartbroken and pissed about the situation that she might, like, change sides. I don't know, because it took a while for her to warm up to Eleanor anyhow. So we'll see, but I think she truly felt an allegiance to Eleanor and a love for her. So I think she's going to spill the beans to Woods, definitely, in her first encounter with him when she finds out that Eleanor's dead. I think that Maddie is not dead. I don't think she's dead, and I really hope for Silver's sake that she's not. Cartier thinks that Max will be next to go. And Trey, I think Max and Silver are going to end up together. I'm not against that idea either. And MJ, I think Max is going to die trying to keep Anne safe. I somehow don't think Max is going to die. I don't know. Anne will kill her after she gets better. No, I think they're ultimately still enough on the same side. No, I mean, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I just don't agree with it. Wow. Okay, so tons going on. I still cannot believe that this is the last season, you guys, and we're halfway through it. I have loved chatting with you all. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Thank you so much for chatting with me and for loving this show so much, you guys. As I said in the beginning, my name is Lauren Salaun. You can find me everywhere online at Lauren Salaun, especially Instagram, and that's LaurenSalaun. And make sure, if you aren't already, that you are subscribed to us here on YouTube, youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. You can also catch all of our weekly after shows, including this one and every single other one we do, on iTunes. And when you check us out on iTunes, you guys should leave us a review. All right, guys. Oh, yeah. Grandpa Guthrie is going to come to the rescue, and that is going to be badass. I completely agree. I cannot wait for that. All right. I will see you guys here next week, same place, same time. Cannot wait to talk. Catch you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.